We made this.
Welcome to the Starlight Ballroom. Hey!
Hello everyone and welcome to Shipwrecked and Comatose, the Red Dwarf podcast here on the We Made This podcast network. My name is Kurt North and joining me are all four of the other reprobates, same as last week. Welcome back to the show, guys. How's everything doing? This is the entire Shipwrecked and Comatose crew. How are we all going? How are we all doing?
Hello.
All right.
Hi.
Okay.
I'm amazed we managed to organise it 2 weeks on the trot so far.
I thought we were all going to do was. I thought we were all going to do the Blue Peter. Hello! In sync then. Just out of sheer natural instinct.
Let's dive straight into this because it's back to Earth and we need to get through it.
not that it's 10:30.
No, it's 10:30 even.
I don't think this one will be as lengthy as the last one because we had our general chat, didn't we? And we've got very little to say about Back to Earth, yet we did manage an hour and a half on our first episode of these three. Do you want to talk about the credits?
I'm just about to talk about the credits because I actually really like the Red Dwarf symbol on it. And to be fair to them, the London background with the Blade Runner-esque Tyrell Company thing, I think is actually really nice.
Pyramid.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
I don't know. The embossed kind of curvature is very much like, oh, you've just discovered Photoshop.
It matches Cat's.
Well, they probably had just discovered Photoshop. It was about 2009, wasn't it?
They hadn't got the budget for Photoshop. It was GIMP.
GIMP.
Can you emboss in GIMP?
I have no idea.
Yeah, you can.
I can do very few things in it.
There are lots of things you can do with GIMP.
There you go. I thought it was going to take ages to get and say that, but my work is done.
Yep.
See you in part 3, lads.
So, yeah. So what did you think to the credits, Mark?
So, I mean, they didn't have much to work with. They had a grand total of about, 70 minutes of footage, and it was all the same story. So it was nothing like what we've seen in the past with the previous 8 series. And I think they did as good a job as they could do.
Yeah. It was just little bits out of it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Put together with sellotape.
And it does feel like they wanted to use the Blade Runner breaking glass scene 4 times because it cost them so much.
Yeah, the fact you see them getting shot in it was a bit weird for me, because we've talked about it before when we've done the title sequences of like, oh my god, this has happened and this has happened and this has happened, and it almost slips by because it's that quick. These aren't as fast, and you're like, oh well, Rimmer gets shot in the light bay at some point, in the back. And, which doesn't seem as fun as some of the other things that have happened in title sequences.
Anyway, so that was the title sequences.
Good.
Let's talk about the opening of the episode. So Rimmer is still trying to find any dirt, and Crichton reports back that the character is flawless. That means that Rimmer's going to have to frame her. And this becomes an interesting dynamic in this episode with Katerina and Rimmer.
It does. But can we go back to the very, very start where it goes back a few minutes towards the end of the last episode?
Yep.
And kind of like starts with maybe the last minute and a half of the last episode. And it just felt so dated. This was 2009, and that was the kind of shit that they pulled in 80s Doctor Who with their cliffhangers. And it felt like, even though it was cheap, that was really cheap to do 80s Doctor Who vibes like that.
Yeah. I think it was a very big sign that this was originally meant to be one long thing.
Yeah.
And neither of the cliffhangers were particularly cliffhangy anyway, I didn't think.
No, the previous episode ended so abruptly.
I think I agree. It's it's a bit jarring that you go back. You know, even if you look at like 90s television, they often, if it was an actual multi-part, properly done episode in, say, a la X-Files, you'd go to a different scene before you come back to this. When you'd go somewhere else, you know, you might have, like, if it was written differently, maybe something to do with, I don't know, it's difficult because they haven't gone through anywhere, but you know what I mean? They would have stopped it at a different point where you could have had a couple of scenes somewhere else, or have the crew split up and, you know, start it somewhere, but that wasn't to be. During the scientific scene, as I say, the rumor says that he's going to have to frame her. So the dimension is invalid and they have to go to the nearest valid reality, at which point they all hell breaks loose and they end up going through there. So what did you think to the vortex? What did you think to, obviously, Rimmer going through first? How did you feel about that, Carl?
I quite liked the idea of Rimmer going first, and that she basically shoots his light beam and makes him go, because it makes all the sense in the world. I did actually now, again, this is another thing I've seen from watching it again since the original transmission, in that they're going, oh, she says like, oh, they say we don't exist. How is that possible? And it's that thing of, well, they don't exist because they're in a hallucination, but Katerina isn't to know that she's part of a hallucination, so she would be legitimately confused.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that Rimmer went first. The vortex itself looked crap.
Yeah,
but
a bit crap.
The thing I liked most about it was I couldn't work out if a fan was blowing Craig Charles from behind or if they'd put fishing wire on his dreads.
Yeah,
and were pulling them above him and making them look like they were being blown forward. Either way, it was inadvertently quite funny.
I can confirm it was fishing wire from the commentary.
Right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm glad you've listened to this commentary, Mark. Yeah, it's become your thing now.
I mean, I was on Grindr at the same time.
What, to Doug Naylor?
Multitasking, because I couldn't face it without some kind of entertainment.
And I bet Grindr had better graphics on it than this vortex did. The bit,
no comment.
The bit as well is that in various shots you can see that they've just doubled up the shots of Sophie Winkleman, especially the ones where she's looking into the vortex. And also, why is she not getting pulled into the vortex?
Yeah.
She's not real, probably.
There's that.
Yeah,
Yes.
It is a bit uncanny, that, actually, in an interesting way. I quite like that, actually. Well, Rimmer actually crashes into a price crash sign, which I thought,
yes, that's really obviously has been cut out into his shape and just folded back in.
Yeah.
And do you remember HD ready TVs? Because they say something like, that, don't they? Say like, well, it's HD.
Is it HD ready?
Yes, it's HD ready.
It was 50 inches of pure crotch thrusting power. Was it? He says.
I believe it's something along those lines. Yes,
but HD ready wasn't actually HD. It was, if I remember correctly, it's something like the fact that they only could get up to 720p. Yeah, but they were able to upscale.
Yeah, it was upscale. Yeah, it was progressive, wasn't it?
So there was fake. So it wasn't really 1080p. It was just kind of upscaling. Yeah, Mark's doing the, oh my God, Matt and talking tech stuff again.
And
I've got no fucking idea. My housemate bought a big telly and I was delighted. I've got nothing. I couldn't tell you anything other than
I'm guessing just like, do you like big things, Mark? It's like it when people buy big things for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. This is techno babble. I don't believe it's real. I think you just deliberately talk absolute bollocks to confuse me because I'm not very good with tech.
Anyway, so it's just the 720p upscaling up to 1080, so it's not really HD. Yeah. It's just HD ready, which means it will give you the illusion of HD.
Yeah.
Can I reverse the polarity of the neutron flow, please?
It doesn't do that. No. It's a TV.
No, I don't.
It's just a TV.
Keep up, Mark. Come on.
I do like actually the way they get thrown into the TV store, though. I like the just the general everyday motion of like you've got all the TVs on, they're all displaying. I know there's like random bits of Red Dwarf just happen to be on it at different times, but it's fine. You know, it's an alternative universe. It's it's a fever dream as such. But I do like each of the entrances. I think all of the entrances work really well. I love Crichton's like flying through. That Lister just falls through the table, kind of Die Hard style, and that the cat has the best entrance.
The cat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Greg Charles though does his own stunts.
He does.
Yeah. I just love the cat's landing because it just works. You've got the other three being a bit crap, but the cat always lands on his feet because he's a fucking cat. It's a great gag. It wasn't laugh out loud funny, but it was at least thoughtful.
Crichton's one's a bit weird because obviously he flies through at great speed and then he stops and then the camera keeps going and comes back. But when it comes back, he's in a heap, like he's gone head first in something, and he's shaking. It's a little bit like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah, it's like just like someone's crumpled up or stepped on him.
Yeah. It's like he's been knocked out. He's just.
So, do you want to have a guess at how they achieved that special effect? Because they do mention it in the commentary.
Mirrors.
Tea trolley with a green screen cloth over it.
That's what I guess.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
He was on a wheeled trolley with a rope, and they just fucking pulled him.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because the way cat comes in, there's like a CGI cat that comes out the TV first before he lands. That would that's only like half a second, and that would have cost a bit of money, which I find
worth it though.
Oh, absolutely.
Worth it though. Like I say, not funny, but one of the best parts of the episode.
And we've got this our good friend who's the salesman, and the fact that you talk about the size scan. It's all bollocks, isn't it? The side scan knows everything. It's just an exposition piece. And this is where I start to go, okay, the episode has definitely gone up a notch here. It's definitely getting better.
No, to me, this is where it starts going wrong, because I quite like the first one as like the first third of a good story. What the tipping point for me now is when it starts getting over. And as much as I quite like meta stuff, this is, for some reason, when this starts trying to do meta kind of jokes, something doesn't land. Yeah. And like
it's very unsubtle meta, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's fact as well. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of sci-fi or watch Red Dwarf. Oh, I'm going to suddenly name drop a specific term using that, and I'm like, oh, fuck off.
It's weird as well because the actor who plays the husband of the couple that are being shown around, I recognise from various sitcoms and things. He's turned up in a lot of stuff, and he seems to be playing it semi-straight. The guy who plays the salesman's in a different show altogether. He's in the 10%ers, which is
yes,
of course he is.
He's in. Well, no, I mean he's playing it like the 10%ers.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant he was actually an actor from the 10%.
No, I don't believe
nepotism.
I think the guy who's the husband might have been, but the guy who's playing it, he's in a different sitcom altogether.
So the actor that plays the salesman, Tom Andrews, was in 2 episodes of Coronation Street, just to confuse the timeline even further.
Right.
Good. I think the whole scan thing is fascinating because it was around this time that the people were starting to criticize the sonic screwdriver in Doctor Who for being exposition-y and a get out of jail free card and stuff like that. So I wonder if it was inspired by that. But it is actually also fucking true. The scan is just a way of getting the plot forward in the sci-fi elements that they don't need when they want to get to the lulls.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I thought it was clever and I thought it worked. And it was legitimate criticism of the scan as well.
The scene where they're talking to the scan, you've got the sliding images on the TV behind them with like a still of the character and then the name, and they're so shit. They're not posed pictures either. They're just really awkward like cutouts from a scene from earlier on. They're so poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also a joke in there about the 2008 crash.
Yes.
Yes, and that I think hits even heavier after the subsequent. Yeah, like wasn't this around the time of BCCI,
Northern
Yeah.
Rock, and all that kind of stuff.
Northern Rock? Yeah.
Oh, was that 2009? Flipping heck. That
2008
seems
was the crash, yeah.
wow. I thought that was lot sooner.
It was an interesting political stab, which you never really got in Red Dwarf.
It's interesting because Craig Charles had previously the script had a lot of references to it being 2009, and Craig Charles insisted that they remove all of the specific references to 2009 because it dated it. But then they've got that in there of a really significant news event that had just happened.
But then again, now that probably kind of works, though. I mean, like, it kind of works, though, I think, because you're going towards vagueness.
Yeah.
So it's probably kind of, so like, it'd be like going to, like, if you're 3 million years in the future and you come back to 2020, goes, hey, wasn't this when like the Spanish flu was around? No, Spanish flu. No, wasn't Spanish flu in the 1900s? No, Spanish flu was 2020. No. So when was the Black Death? No, Black Death was before that, wasn't it? No, it's probably that far back in past that you probably can conflate it. So like there's probably loads of different things you can mention. Like, I mean, the Great Fire of London. When was that?
1666.
Where the fuck do you have all that stuff in your brain?
Because the Great Fire of London was the year after the Black Death, which was 1665.
Okay.
You dickhead.
This is why he's got the double-barreled last name, because he's got the memory banks of two people.
Jesus, I thought that was just full of music stuff. He's got like other stuff as well.
It's mostly music stuff, to be fair.
But ask him anything.
Yeah, that's probably why, yeah.
This is the thing, all the music stuff and all that's in there. But ask him, like, tie your shoelaces, Colin, or basic maths. No.
Yeah, no, fuck that. Can't be asked.
History of the Melody Maker, rigorously detailed.
But the point I understand, it's like vague, it's probably vague enough that like someone will probably get. They're that far in the future. They probably.
Yeah, they could be wrong. The massive crash could be in another 20 years.
Yeah.
Or the one they're thinking of. Yeah.
So you talk about the penis enhancement thing with the emails. That's kind of very kind of 90s, 2000-y kind of spam mails, but then they're actually doing it. Kremlin Kate gets mentioned as well for Katerina. So a bit of use of alliteration. And then they get onto the escalator.
And Rimmer's waistband has disappeared. The thing that I could not stand in the previous episode is gone.
I don't recall the waistband being particularly offensive.
I know.
No, waistband's still there.
I just don't recall the waistband.
No.
Waistband's still there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the shot I'm looking at then. Okay, yeah.
And this is where I'm going to share my screen. And this person here.
That's good for the audio podcast.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just for our thing. That is Robert Turnbull.
You have been watching Robert Turnbull.
Yeah, exactly.
Mate, in 25 years, you're going to make the worst podcasting decision of your life. Run.
Brilliant. When join a group of retrobates, get out the way you can.
Run, you fool.
Brilliant.
So I think the whole production crew were basically used as extras in these scenes. So, just as I say, to save money. And then I went through a bit of a spiel. I don't know if everyone else did this, but did everyone kind of go, right, I'm going to look at the DVDs here. Did anyone do that?
No, but I've got it now.
Well, you've got the...
got it now, so let's have a look.
Is it the Don't Shoot is one of them?
The Don't Shoot, the T-shirt from that he's got, yeah.
There's a horror film that gets mentioned that he's mentioned in an earlier series, but I can't remember the name.
Gore Monsters.
I don't think
Bikini Vampire Girls.
It's definitely not that one.
Oh, die screaming with sharp things in your head.
That's the one. That's on there.
Space Cop Police Squad.
Yes, Space Cop Police Squad's in there. This City, What City is then shown later on. He's holding This City, What City's later on. But in the background, Memento's there, so there's a special for me. I can do Memento. Quite happy to do that. And Aliens is on the posters.
So that poster with Craig Charles, again on the commentary, this is actually fascinating. He got a photograph taken where he pulled a face, and he simply couldn't recreate it. He kept trying, and he got as close as he could.
Yeah, I remember looking at that going like, is he deliberately not trying to match it?
No, he couldn't get it back.
There is a little moment here that I quite like, which is when Crichton's explaining DVDs.
The videos.
In the future that they dried out and they went back to videotapes, which is why in the future they're using videotapes.
I do actually quite like that gag, actually. It's one of the ones I think, oddly enough, that gag seems to have dated better than... It seems to have dated well since DVDs are slowly...
Yeah, I had it down mentioning about vinyl is a perfect example, isn't it? Of like, I know we've talked about in the podcast about, the fact that they changed medium like last season in 8 that they were talking, they had CDs. So it's interesting. Obviously, I've got a big DVD collection.
You are?
I've got a big, yes.
It's not the size, it's how you use it.
And I did have a big CD collection as well, but did you? Who's guilty of putting CDs in the wrong box? Anyone?
No, never.
Can't do it.
No.
I used to do it when I was at university and I had a CD collection before they all got burnt in a car crash.
They all got burnt in a car crash. I lost all.
I think the car crash was caused by you not putting CDs back in the cases. That was the universe punishing you. Well, so if you're not putting them in the right cases, you don't fucking deserve them.
I am that person.
I do it.
Well,
I don't do it anymore, but I did used to.
This is where Mark's conversation comes in. It says it takes place after series 10, which comes in there. So that's where the series 10 element comes in. And the case, when they open it up and it says, "Oh, look, it's coming soon," which didn't really land for me. I don't know if it did for anyone else, but I don't think that really landed.
No.
Nope.
No.
So to me, it felt like the script was so bad that even actors that had almost kind of improved on the job as actors in Red Dwarf, they just couldn't. They couldn't polish a shit.
Yeah.
It's when the posters got that too weird for words thing, just as a tagline. It's almost a bit like, "Hey guys, we're zany."
Yeah.
It's
you don't have to be mad to work here, but it helps.
But I think they're actually reading what's on the back of the actual Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I think
3-parter. This is when Rimmer says, "Oh, I hate 3-parters. What if I'm not in that night? Say I'm busy." I was like, where's that coming from? What depths, that like I said last week, what depths is that coming from? Is that coming from last season, last series? Is it coming from the fact that this was forced to be a 3-parter and he wanted it to be the director's cut?
I think it's the latter. I think it's definitely the latter.
Also, he's holding the DVD. You don't have to be in. You can watch that whenever you want. So it doesn't make any sense whatsoever in the context of the scene.
Well, unless Rimmer's not going to buy it.
Yeah, fair.
I think by 2009, I was already at the stage where I didn't watch live TV other than Doctor Who and the Eurovision Song Contest.
Do you watch the Eurovision Song Contest, Mark?
Yes, I watch it live. It's the only thing I watch live these days. Okay. But I think the joke was already outdated at the time, because who watched live TV?
Some people still do. They're weird, but
yeah. I can't remember what it was. It was something on Netflix that got released weekly, and that was kind of Castlevania, and that was kind of nice to tune in every week. It felt nostalgic.
We have a Yellow Jackets podcast that has an
time.
episode every single week. We have a Star Trek Picard episode that's out every single week.
I got a Chucky episode.
We've got a Chucky episodes that are out every single week.
I like that. I
Yeah, no, that's
I
what I'm
much
saying.
prefer
That's what
having a slow one. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Saying like it's not. That's an actual. It's swung
But that-
back round now. It's actually there's more TV shows that do that now.
But you don't watch it live. You watch it on catch up soon after it's released.
No,
rather
when
than
it's released. If I can,
timing your fucking life
midnight,
around shit. No,
midnight. As
no
soon as it
one's-
comes out, 8:00 in the morning. As soon as it comes out, or a
No one
screener,
was doing that in 2009.
or a screener when you get it before everyone else.
Show off.
But also with this, just going back to they do the police squad freeze frame.
Oh, it's bad.
It's really bad because it goes on.
That's what completely threw me because I was like, I didn't get that reference.
I
don't even remember that bit.
Yeah, they hold it for a second too long and then it just fades to black. And I thought it would have been funny if they just kept talking and it cut them off. And then when it comes back, they're still talking. But they do this really weird freeze frame where everyone's looking. I'm looking at it now, and everybody's looking in different directions. Craig Charles is holding the DVD like this. It may as well be like that. It's really odd. And
it actually does freeze though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because that's why I said on the messenger today was like, oh, I'm watching the one with the extra bunk scene because in my head I had the bunk scene in my head, and I was like, oh, have I gone? Because it happens on DVDs when you've got they actually instill the reinsert,
Yeah.
so you get like the pause while it flicks over, and that's what I automatically thought it was, but it isn't because there's because the next scene's the bunk scene, but then there's a deleted scene after that. I just didn't get that at all. Didn't see that at all.
I might just have the police squad thing in my head because I really want to watch the Naked Gun films again at the moment.
They're good.
They're
Much
great.
better than this.
Oh yeah, and Police Squad's fantastic.
Well,
yes,
not as good as Police Academy though. But
What?
Oh
no, it's
Get
better.
in the sea.
It's better.
that's what I tend to do when people talk about the Beatles and Rolling Stones. I always pick the other one just for the sake of it.
Well, yes, but when you pick the Beatles, you're wrong because the Rolling Stones are great and the Beatles are grossly overrated.
No, they're not. The Rolling Stones are
Massively
massively
incorrect.
overrated. Massively
Well,
overrated.
Both bands are amazing. The Beatles are one of the most important bands of all time for so many different reasons. However, they are massively overplayed, and John Lennon was a fucking abusive prick.
So the scene that we get next, then, which is the one I thought was a DVD thing, but because of that stupid freeze cut, is the scene where we've got Rimmer sitting at a small table and Lister comes over, and they have a little discussion there. Now, I know we talked about this briefly in the messenger, but has everyone seen, or most people seen, the deleted scene after this? Because it is the most red.
I haven't.
It's the most Red Dwarf thing in the entire 3-parter that they cut. It's them.
I've just found it online while we're talking, but I haven't.
No.
They just have a general. They kind of have a conversation, but Lister gets up on the bunk and Rimmer goes in the bottom bunk, and they have a natural Red Dwarf conversation. It feels like Red Dwarf. The whole entire conversation just feels natural, and they've cut that.
No, I've not seen it.
And obviously, the person walking through is Robert Turnbull on the cutscene as well.
Brilliant.
But yeah, so they have this conversation, and they realise that that Crichton comes back in, doesn't he, and says that we thought we were from a hidden camera show, and they wouldn't take him seriously. But Rimmer then
Not Crikey TV.
Yeah, it did into my mind. But Rimmer knows how to get some money and some condoms and some other things by getting the money from behind the sofas. And this is where the first bit of origami comes in. How do we feel about the origami coming in at this point?
I think those origami squids, obviously when you see it properly in the next episode, are very, very cool. I don't know if it's actually possible to make that like that out of origami. If it is, I want one.
But again, this is like the first overt massive reference to Blade Runner.
Yeah. Although they've already said, when reading the synopsis of the DVD,
True.
that it rips off Blade Runner.
Yeah. I think it's also a nod to Back to Reality, in as much as it's a blatant clue.
Blatant.
So I think it's maybe a nod to that.
Yeah. I'm just going to intersplice this. During the conversation with on the bunk scene, again, kind of another thing that kind of like there's no payoff. Did you notice that Rimmer's going through the carpet tiles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, in the cut scene, he goes, "That book was crap."
Oh, okay.
So
Right.
that's the end of that. But then they do find that they can go to. This is where my notes are getting really bad. They refer to like this is their last show as well, which is kind of getting to like, oh, this is the end of their life. You know, we're starting to build that up a little bit. But they find out they need to go to They Walk Among Us, and then we go to that place. And as I say, they start talking about the fact that they want to know if this is our last show. First up, what do you think of the character in the shop? How did you
Hated him.
Hated him?
Yeah.
Did you?
Did not. Yeah. I've always disliked the weirdification or slight creepiness of sci-fi fans. Yeah, there are some out there.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there are, but not all of us. And you'd think Red Dwarf, of all people, wouldn't do something this cheap.
Yeah. Unless he was a Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
Star Trek fans are all like that.
Savage.
Not saying anything. I'm not saying anything.
Don't get Matt started about X-Files fans. Man, he's got some things to say about those.
I think it's another one of these. It's been done before and it's been done better. He's not as good as comic book guy from The Simpsons.
Or is he Bill Bailey in Space?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd have taken
Is it Frodo, his character's called, I think?
Bilbo.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
If it was like Bill Bailey's character in Space, I'd have taken that because at least he's intelligent. This guy just seems dumb.
When I first watched it, I was there going like, I know him from somewhere.
Yeah, I was like that.
And I was like, I know him from somewhere. And like, it was really bothering me.
Is it
And I'm
Nostalgia Comics in Birmingham?
No. But then I ended up going on IMDb and realised, bloody hell, it's Higgins from Ted Lasso.
No, I don't know that.
Which I've not watched yet, but
I've not watched
I'm planning to watch soon because I've been told by lots of people it's very good, despite the fact it's got football in it. Just like Yellow Jackets is very, very good, despite the fact it has football in it right at the start.
It doesn't have football in that much, does it?
Not afterwards, no.
Like people who dislike football are really awful. Like, yeah.
No, we're the best people.
Yeah, we're significantly less violent.
Hang on, so in the last 3 minutes, you've managed to diss Star Trek fans, X-File fans, and football fans, of which I am entitled to all three.
And don't forget Beatles fans.
And Beatles fans. Next, you'll be talking about Bono next.
I was going to say, you two are rubbish.
Is it get the head of you? I saw it coming. I was like, I'm not
You
getting
two are as overrated as the Beatles.
Hey, actually, yeah, you say all that. There's probably some people there where Back to Earth is probably their most favourite part of Red Dwarf.
Yeah, but they're dickheads.
Surely not.
I like the fact we're building this all up to getting to the point where we're going to be in a room with these people, possibly.
We love you all, really.
Just Colin comes out and just points and turns to like Matt and goes, and this is Colin.
I can imagine like sort of the reinvigoration of Red Dwarf fans, because we have seen quite a bit of a resurgence in our earlier episodes. But if somebody comes straight into this one or straight into Crikey TV, it's like, oh. But anyway,
if Crikey TV is their favourite episode, then they're a fucking bellend.
So the El Presidente is apparently called Red Dwarf.
Yes.
Clever.
That was really
I
clever.
did like that.
The fact that we don't meet them was a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
Really?
I a little bit.
I think it should have been played by Doug Naylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't you think that the resultant phone call, and this just seems to start dragging on for far too long,
The
and
whole scene does.
and it just it goes into kind of reference comedy, and I don't know. There's just something really kind of self-flagellating about it, which doesn't. But it's just not good at all. It's like where Noddy, I think the character's name is, like saying like, oh yeah, like thing from the TV show. It's on Red Dwarf. Thing from the TV show. It's on Red Dwarf. Thing from Star Trek.
It's from Star Trek. I don't like that. I did like that. I did like that.
I thought that was all right because they've mentioned Star Trek before. Hudson.
The fact is, can you beam me
that Star Trek crap?
So, why not beam over there? That's Star Trek. I really like that.
Yeah,
I actually did like that.
The thing that got me was when they were doing the establishing shot of the scene. There's all that Red Dwarf merch. I was like, is that real? And if not, why not?
Some of it was.
Yeah.
There was the Starbug electronic playset, which was released in about 2004, 2005, when it was completely off my radar. And they now go for about 500-600 quid, I believe. So I can't get one of them. But then there were other things in there that obviously weren't real. The copy of SFX magazine with Red Dwarf Back to Earth on the cover was a very limited edition alternate cover that they made for the current issue, where they made 50 of them and they distributed them to various different shops around the country. Okay. Just one of them with whatever the normal cover was, which was a completely different show.
Yeah. That thing was like, oh, it looks like it's paying tribute to the show. Like, look at the merch and look at some of the stuff we've made. Like, you get the first hint of the car bug.
Yeah.
And then there's you're listening to music? No. I was like, I literally
that wasn't good.
For fuck's sake, when he did that, because it's like, this is going to be shit.
No, I agree with that, definitely. Yeah, it was when he was doing that like kind of head shaking thing. I was like, it's not good. I did like the no. I did like that bit, and as I say, the Star Trek bit I enjoyed. The Space Corps directive came out, and it was like, oh, I love it when he does these. Which I thought was okay. I would have preferred him to actually get it right.
Yeah.
I thought that's where they were going to go with it, that he was going to get it right, and that would have been funnier. But they went with he got it wrong. I'm like, well, that's just reaffirming what we know. You know what I mean? And if this is meant to be a squid that's like for elation, I know it's like Rimmer. We talked about Rimmer being the other way, but surely that could be a sign that something's wrong if Rimmer's getting something right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The bit that also that really took me out was when he rings up Red Dwarf and he says, "Oh, sorry to interrupt the Warhammer, mate." And it was like, oh, it just hurt. It was just. I remember a thing with Russell. It was an episode of Screen Wipe where he interviewed a load of different writers, and Russell T Davies was on it, and he said he watched something where, and I remember seeing this afterwards. Randomly, somebody starts the scene with "Happy Wedding Day, sis," and it's like, you don't talk like that to your sister, and it just felt like that of like, I must fit exposition into this line to describe who I'm talking about, and what I'm talking about is a very lazy stereotype.
Yeah.
Did
you see Crichton's head?
No.
Just as they go to the bath, there's an empty Crichton's head, like it's a rubber mask. Actually,
okay.
Yeah.
And when they go to the bath, because the scale, which is another Blade Runner reference, with the scale, and that goes back to the polymorph that they were talking about. And then we go to the Zoom scene.
This is the bit I like.
I didn't mind this. Yeah,
I like this because this is the kind of spoof of Blade Runner kind of scene technology, and also what a trope, that a very lazy trope that I can't stand, is the kind of zoom in, enhance stuff. But in Blade Runner, because it's like futuristic, the technology's there, and it kind of makes sense that they probably could do that because the technology's there. It's when it starts appearing in CSI and contemporary.
I'm the same. That's why I like X-Files a lot more, because they very rarely do it. They do it, but they very rarely do it. It's more procedural and like they're dealing with it at the time. They don't use zooming. But for me, on this particular one, just so I can get this in before anyone else does, the bit where I actually howled with laughter is when, can you zoom into that droplet?
Yeah.
It was just like, oh my God, that's so funny. Because at the time I was getting a bit like, oh, I know what they're doing, making fun of it. I can hold back my thing on that because they are making fun of it. And then the droplet thing just dropped me. I was like, oh, that's so funny. That's brilliant. Yeah. That is brilliant writing.
Yeah, it was clearly inspired by Blade Runner, but it was one of the better Blade Runner moments because they took the piss.
Yeah.
Rather than just copying.
Yeah. It over-exaggerated it, and like, I mean, in Blade Runner, I think in Blade Runner it doesn't go out too over the top, but you still get the kind of impression that it's futuristic and that they can do that to photos.
Doesn't
in that
Blade
era.
Runner go round a corner?
Yes,
though?
it does.
Yeah.
Okay. At the time, as I said, I think it was on the last episode now. I don't think I had seen Blade Runner yet, and I thought it was CSI that it was taking the piss out of. And it works that way as well.
Oh yeah, definitely, because it's ridiculous in CSI. I've not even seen it, but I've heard of CSI Cyber, which lasted two seasons, which is
the Ted Danson one.
No, I think it's the James Van Der Beek. Is it James Van Der Beek? Yeah, where they solve IT crimes or something like that. And it's
I just like the fact you can pick an actor, and chances are they've been dumped into a CSI or a Law and Order. The guy who played Zach Morris was in NYPD Blue for like 4 years. Right. As like a lead character.
Yeah, he's in the last 4 seasons or something like that. Yeah,
we've probably all been in a CSI. We just can't remember it.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
CSI Birmingham.
Happened to me twice now.
I mean, I loved Colin's like as the kind of specialist in CSI Hales Owen.
Yeah.
CSI Hales Owen. Fucking hell.
Mark's in NCIS Stretford.
Yeah, good.
I tell you one thing I did pick up, by the way, while we're talking about this scene, because he says uncrop. Now, at this time, you wouldn't have been able to do that. You can do that now. If you've taken a picture and you edit it, the original, you can still revert back to the original when you want to, on software. So the fact that it says uncrop, and I was like, well, that was probably quite a bit of a joke at that point, but actually it's now become, that's a mainstay. If you upload to Google Photos or whatever, you can edit the photo and click it and you can go back to the original and uncrop everything. So that was good. And when we find out about swallows, this is the way to get into Swallow. Enough, Mark. Thank you. Especially with the latex.
I got nothing.
You got nothing. Well, this is.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, latex masks and noses.
Sorry, we were talking about GIMP earlier.
And as I say, you mentioned it before about the Star Trek Hollyhock Drive, the paddles, the time slides, and stuff like that. And they eventually decide that they're going to have to catch a bus. So what do we think about Stelworth Heath?
Doesn't exist. I did look it up.
I thought you might.
Doesn't exist. Not a thing.
So the bus scene has my favourite moment in the entire run of 3 episodes, and the moment where I did laugh the most, because it came out of nowhere. And the little ginger kid, tell Rimmer he's a smegger. I really laughed at that. That actually got a proper laugh out of me. And I really liked it. And they dropped it so well after the really sensitive, kind of lovely scene about you're Lister, you're this, and you're important, and you're a bit smelly, but you're brave. And it was all really kind of sensitive, tender, lovely. Tell Rimmer he's a Smeghead. And that's my kind of humour.
Yeah.
Where it's nice, drop. I love stuff like that. I've always found stuff like that really good. And I try and do that myself when I write a ceremony for people's funerals, because you shouldn't have like a funeral that's all sad. I like to go tell a story and then drop a. Yeah, so that really resonated with me.
You tell them that they're Smegheads.
Because
I've not had a Red Dwarf funeral yet, but I'd totally do one and call someone a Smeghead.
What would you call the deceased a Smeghead?
Let's say that'll be on our eulogies then.
Yeah.
That's true, actually. You all need to die before me so I can do your funerals.
If we slowly vanish, you'll know why.
Yeah,
but I go back to that kind of scene is quite nice because it ties back in, and the show suddenly remember the kind of movie / miniseries remembers shit. We're supposed to be about Lister's existential crisis that we started setting up in episode 1, which took quite a bit of chunk of that time. You're like, crap, we've forgotten about it. So let's bring. It's
very clearly a 3-act structure, isn't it? The first, but it's in segments. It's like the memorial scene, the bus scene, and then the scene next week.
Yeah,
that's all. And it's just jokes around it, and goes back to your Promised Land thing. It needs to be a sea story. That's what it's missing. It's missing a story. There's not enough content for it to.
But
really kick in.
But I think overall though, this is like what. This is what like. Just under 70 minutes, and I think with the adverts and the breaks and everything, I think Promised Land goes to about 90, so they had about an extra 20 minutes to kind of flesh things out, and they still kind of messed up something. But
TV movies weren't now UK Gold do them all the time. They do those ones with Johnny Vegas where it's was it Murder on a Coach Trip or something like that. I think they do one every Christmas where it's like Murder on the Orient Express, but it's like
are the UK doing Hallmark movies?
Sort of, yeah.
Johnny Vegas in a Hallmark romantic comedy. Oh,
well, they're like murder mysteries, but it's one of them where it's filled with like actors from Last of the Summer Wine and people from LOLO and people from this and people from that. So this again, when we're talking about this, was like the crack in the dam for Dave's original programming. I think if it was a few years later, once they'd started doing those TV films more often, we probably would have got the extra 20 minutes that Promised Land had got, and Doug might have put a bit more effort in. There was a joke in this bit which I thought was quite under the radar and worked quite well, which was when Crichton's reeling off Rimmer's issues, and he says, "You have unrealistic goals." And he says, "Well, when I'm Lord of the Starfleet, Crichton, you're going to pay for that."
Yeah.
And also, I love Crichton's disguise.
Oh, yeah. Glass in the coat was just like hat.
Turtles, isn't it?
Yes.
I did appreciate the kind of very kind of subtle gag where like I'm going to say something like, I always sad when Chancey left. He goes, yeah, I was a bit sad. And then the girl goes, so was Dad. And I was like, because Dad fancied Chloe Annette.
I'd kiss her too. It's a bit like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. I do like the fact that Lister does recognise the difference between Chloe Annette and Kachansky. He doesn't freak out and be like, "She's alive here." It's like, "Oh, her actress is alive."
I do think
here.
that's a bit meta. I don't know why Chloe fell off the radar, but it seemed to be like just pointing to the fact that actually she's just decided to do things with her family and step away from it.
Yeah. Did she retire from acting, I think?
Yeah.
I think they were probably very fortunate to get her to do this, actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking with actually having the... It didn't look like an official one because I did see some of the writing. It didn't look like it was like an official, Chloe Annette's going to stay with family. It's something that's been mocked up for it. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of like, she said, well, I'll come and do it, but you've just got to like say the case of the actual actress is going to disappear and, stay away from it from now on.
It is quite funny just watching it because I have it on in the background whenever we do this. The mock-up of Chloe Annette, she's like big, huge, cheesy grin. The kids look miserable.
So, sorry, I've got it frozen on the text. And
I had it frozen the other day and I can't remember exactly what it says. But...
Mr. Flip. So this is from the article.
Yeah, it says Mr. Flibble or something, doesn't it? Yeah.
Mr. Flibble Where so at Chloe, of course, it was a penguin. This looked more like something. In an embarrassed, can you ask her out for me way, he whispered her first question to Andrew. Is it true that your casting as Kachansky came about because Doug saw your audition tape for another show to 10%ers?
It's like a Mad Lib, isn't it?
Yeah. So
I don't remember her being in the 10%ers.
No, but it's if she auditioned for it.
Yeah.
But like I don't know whether it's supposed to be that Mr. Flibble is interviewing Chloe Annette for this magazine.
I think
maybe.
that's what it was getting at, I think.
Maybe it's just this whole plot line that they just put in there that Chloe Annette went to settle down with Mr. Flibble and raise a family.
That is something else if that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, if she did audition for the 10%ers, just looking here, the 10%ers was in 1994. So for 15 years. No, it's 6 years, wasn't it? Yeah, because we've got the 9-year jump. So,
yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, moving on, because we do have to get on with this.
Yeah.
Is it murder if someone says it's not murder, then it is murder? And is it murder or is it not murder?
It's murder.
It's definitely murder.
See, now this was the bit that I remember absolutely pissing myself laughing at when I first watched it. I still think this is the funniest bit in it.
It is pretty funny.
I think this is hilarious.
It's so sudden. It's just like boom, Jesus.
Yeah. It's actually well done. There's a lot that you can criticize about this, and we have, but it's really well done, and it's got kind of Final Destination vibes of the shit.
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah. I almost thought watching it again today that it was their way of sort of precognitively going, right, how do we get round Mark's ick factor? We'll have her explain it that it's completely morally fine to push her in front of a car.
And then push her in front of a car. But it's not real anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it is in Rimmer's head that he did it.
So if he just did it without her saying that, it'd be fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
Rimmer is very much the kind of person that would use someone else's words against them.
Yeah.
So it's actually really nicely done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's in character as well. Like Rimmer would actually murder anyone.
No. He's almost checking for himself, isn't he? It's like,
It's kind of a self-defense thing as well, because she has basically threatened to murder him.
It's not as funny as Meet Joe Black's death, though, is it? Is it Meet Joe Black?
She does bend quite a bit when the car hits her. I mean, it's CG, but yeah, it's very Rubber Band Man. I do like Crichton's reaction if she didn't see that coming, but I did.
So we're at No's World, and Lister can read Chinese, apparently. What are you making to No's World, Colin?
It's all right. Bit nosy. I haven't got any notes for it. So
is it Tate Modern?
It might be. I haven't got a clue.
Because that's where they used to film
It's just
Justice.
like he knows when the Black Plague is, doesn't have a clue about the thing we're talking about.
Yeah. There's a lot of good science sort of set stuff. We had Katerina with her stuff, and then we've got
probably the same set, isn't it?
It's with different lights.
Yeah.
Well, talking about sets, let me tell you something from the commentary. I spent half an hour watching that shite. And they said that they redressed the set for the video shop, and they also said that you wouldn't know. I'm like, yes, you fucking would.
They redressed the video. That's pretty good if that's the video shop that they've redressed.
No, not this particular scene, but the video shop set was redressed again and again and again, and it was like, yes, you fucking would. And then, sorry, I just wanted to talk about the commentary.
That method of doing stuff is something we'll see going more into the Dave era, but I'll talk about that when we get to
the redressing. Yeah.
The redressing,
Yeah. To be honest, I kind of in some ways I forgive that really, because it's just, again, it's the money situation, isn't it? Just keep redressing stuff and whatever. But yeah, we'll get into that. We'll definitely get into that. And this is another way to actually find the situation. So they've gone in this episode. They've gone from London to Coronation Street to Manchester, back down to London.
Eventually, yeah.
Did this actor who plays Swallow, Shallow, is it Shallow or Swallow?
Swallow.
Sorry.
Swallow.
Yeah. I looked into it because I kind of recognised him. And he does turn up in a lot of... He's still with us. He's 83 now. But he moved to London in 97. But prior to that, he was in a lot of Chinese and Hong Kong martial arts films. He's worked with Sammo Hung and Jackie Chan and all of these people. Usually he is the comic relief.
Yeah.
And then he moved to the UK and just kind of started over here because initially the voice that he's using, I was like, that's a bit, I hope that's his real voice.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Because I was a bit about that, but no, it really is. And I looked up as well, and I hadn't clocked who he was. I've watched lots of his films with Sammo and Jackie Chan because I got really into
last
those.
Name?
I
No clue.
think it's Ng.
Ng. Yeah,
I
it's
think
so.
NG, isn't it?
If it's NG, it's just Ng.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Richard Ng.
Richard Ng. Yeah.
Ng.
But he's like one of those undercover stars of, been going a very long time, and he's worked with everybody.
Yeah.
It does make you wonder how he wound up in there.
I was going to ask that. How did he get involved in?
So when you're an actor, you go to these things called auditions, and if you do well, you get the job.
I like the hand motion with that was very Thesp, love. It was very...
Is there a less condescending answer someone can give me?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
No, I can give you an answer. I'm just looking through his IMDb, and he was in Lara Croft Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life.
So nepotism is the answer rather than auditioning.
Well, not necessarily nepotism.
He's Chris Barry's son.
Chris Barry could have met him on that. I haven't seen the film, so I don't know if they were in similar scenes.
Lara Croft's in a U2 video. There you go. Elevation.
Isn't the ring road in Derby named after her?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Lara Croft Way.
Yeah. It's called Designs, based in Derby.
Yeah. If Chris Barry and Richard Ng are mates, I bet you they both like classic cars.
Yeah.
What about the car bug as a classic car?
I loved it. I've always wanted a fucking smart car, and the fact that they made a smart car into a fucking Starbuck, I want that car.
I'm waiting for. I know what Colin's. I can see because I've done the same research. Go on, Colin.
It's just Smart 4.2.
A what?
It's a Smart 4.2. It is. You're
It's
right.
a smart car.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also a smart car that the keys were locked inside.
Yeah.
Yes. And they had to smash the back window while it was on Coronation Street.
Brilliant.
And I think one of the crew, or was it even Doug, that actually bought the car because they couldn't afford it or something?
I think Doug buys it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see the story of Swallow stealing the car from the head of the Red Dwarf fan club.
Big finish, you know what to do.
I was going to say, about to say that. That's what we need.
If they got that extra 20 minutes to put in a B story, that would have been it for me. Just this farcical situation where he steals it and then they steal it from him.
It was sold at an auction in 29th of October 2009. Car Bug was sold for £7,088.
No, right, okay.
Sounds like a bargain to me.
Yeah.
Twice the price of a smart car, isn't it? Smart cars are normally about $3,500.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So the car bug ends up in Coronation Street.
Yes.
And that ends this episode.
That, I think, is a slightly better cliffhanger than the first part, because I think you got the anticipation of like they go, okay, they're going to go and try and meet Craig Charles, and then it kind of ends just as they're pulling into Coronation Street. So thinking, oh, okay, it's more of a hook than like the kind of like mid-scene thing with no fanfare whatsoever. So I think this one does a better job at kind of building tension or excitement, because you're thinking, oh, what's going to happen next week?
Because they
Call
did
me a traditionalist, but I kind of want my cliffhangers to have some peril.
Well, there's peril is we're going to have to watch something with fucking Coronation Street in it.
I mean, it was something that was mentioned in like the marketing of the show as they're going to wind up on Coronation Street.
Yeah.
And I think if they hadn't done that, if you were watching this on Dave and then they turned up at Coronation Street, because it's very rare that you see one show turn up on a show from a different channel.
Yeah.
You'd have been like, what the bloody hell's going on? But because you know that they are going to meet, I don't think in like the marketing they were saying that they were going to meet Craig Charles. They just said they were going to meet like Steve McDonald and Michelle, what's his name, Simon Higson and Michelle Keegan. But yeah, there's a fan edit that I told you guys about, and I put it on our drive, and basically it just chops out the Coronation Street scene, and it does work without it. But as we'll talk about in the next episode, I actually think that you can keep it in.
Nah. Let's get onto that next week.
Yeah. There's your cliffhanger, Mark, with a bit of peril.
Yeah.
There's no peril.
That's it.
Threaten to cut a bit again, Mark.
I've got a gun.
Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast, was created and produced by Mark Adams and Kurt North. You can find us on Twitter at Red Dwarf Pod, and we are part of the We Made This Podcast network.